Every time that I need to operate this glove, so grabbing an object or touching something, it's almost like squeezing a tennis ball. So imagine doing that for 6 hours and 15 minutes. So imagine the physical strength that is necessary to operate the suit. And then I brought you another object
in cui molti mi hanno chiesto di cosa si
that
tratta.
a lot of people have asked me about. And
questo oggetto qui
it's this object here,
non è una pistola, un cannone,
which is not a pistol, it's not a cannon. It's called a PGT, the pistol grip tool.
Computer
that is a computer
collegato a
connected
semplice, a uno svitavita
to a simple screwdriver that is very, very precise, very powerful. It has a lot of exact torques that are needed for assembly and disassembly of various pieces of the station. So I used it to disassemble the camera, the one that I brought back in, and I will utilize it in the next E.V.A. to assemble and disassemble other pieces
in visione di rendere la stazione migliore
so that we can improve on the station for the next cruise to come.
Luca, una cosa che
Luca,
piacerebbe tu
something that I would like for you to repeat for our journalists
le sensazioni che avevi quando eri
was the feelings
al braccio robotico
that you had when you were on top of the robotic arm. You were telling me that when the robotic arm was being operated by your colleagues inside, you felt safe, whereas when it was being operated automatically, you had a little bit of a different feeling.
Sì, sembra strano.
Yes, it's strange to say. However, when I install myself into the robotic arm, I am connected to it by an interface to the feet, which is pretty stable. However, without weight, you don't feel this rigidity, because I float inside the suit some. So when Karen was moving the robotic arm from one side to the other, her inputs were so soft and ideal that I did not feel any movement, and I felt very solid in the structure. When the arm is operated automatically, the data calculated by the computers are a little higher, so there was a bit more motion that I felt inside the suit. Clearly, it's not as comfortable as it was when Karen was moving the arm from one side to the other. Luca, something else, other question that we have in general. Before we let you express an opinion on feelings that you had in speaking with children, was something about medicine, the experiments in medicine. We always say that the astronaut is a bit of a scientist from one side and a guinea pig from the other. Have you been subject to some experiments on your own body, or do you still need this experience?
In realtà ho iniziato subito.
Really, I started immediately with experiments
sul mio corpo. Ne stiamo facendo
for medicine on my own body. We're conducting many. One in particular is called Proke, which is a very specific diet, which tends to balance in a very exact way animal protein and potassium that an astronaut ingests. So through this diet, we try to minimize calcium loss through the bones, which is this very rapid osteoporosis that is developed when an astronaut is weightless. The other experiments that we're conducting regarding medicine are very important, in my opinion. One is about vision. Recently, some studies have demonstrated that astronauts' vision can change during permanence on orbit.
Abbiamo in atto tutta una serie di studi.
And we are conducting a series of studies through an ultrasound machine
con delle ecografie proprio
with
all'occhio,
an echocardiogram,
un fondoscopio che guarda la
and another with a scope that looks at cornea and records any variation. And finally, and maybe not last, an experiment that will have the most immediate effect on Earth is a series of ultrasound on the spine that we conduct both as operators and subjects. This is a very important experiment because the study will allow us to diagnose
semplicemente una macchina per
utilizing simply an ultrasound machine. It's very simple. It's about the size of a laptop. Whereas right now, for this type of diagnosis, you need to do an MRI or other complete body scanning with very expensive machines that are very large and impossible to find in remote locations. So with these small machines, we are going to be able to conduct diagnostics on the Earth, even in areas that are hard to access.
Ok Luca,
Luca.
Innanzitutto ti saluto. Adesso passiamo alle domande dirette.
Now we're going to go to the journalist questions. While they're getting ready, have you noticed any damages due to micrometeorites? One of the tasks that I had during my first spacewalk was to photograph some particular zones of the station. These photos are now underground being analyzed, clearly in much deeper ways. I personally have not noticed any particular damages, even on the suit, even on the components. I did not see any micrometeorites damages. And of course, then there will be some different analyses of the photos that could yield different results.
Ciao Luca, sono Andreana D'Aquino dell'agenzia.
Hi Luca, Andreana D'Aquino from ADN Kronos. Listen, first of all, great emotions, great pride in seeing you conduct your first spacewalk. Here's my questions. Did it go as you expected, or were there issues that from the Earth we were not able to see? And what kind of know-how are you going to bring back when you come back to the ground? That's many questions. Answer to the first questions. Were there any problems? I don't think any EVA ever happens the way it was planned. The greatest difference was when my colleague Chris was supposed to connect an electrical cable from an outlet to the other, and this cable was tangled up for almost 10 years, so it had a great memory and didn't want to unravel. So Chris had to use all his strength to unravel it, and this took some time. From the ground, our mission control had to change the plan a little for an activity that should have been conducted by me and Chris. At the same time, I ended up doing on my own. So covering the front part of the ISS that I ended up installing on my own was supposed to be done together. But really, I ended up feeling fine doing it on my own, and I was very fast. So afterwards, Chris and I started a series of tasks that were part of the second EVA. So we kind of caught up and got ahead. So this is great, because tomorrow we'll have the opportunity to add even more operations next week, next week's EVA. About know-how, very easy. The extravehicular activity represents one of the key points of space exploration. We cannot go anywhere as humans if we do not have the ability to conduct this activity with the spacesuit and support systems. So in the future, we will need to develop new systems, and there are some already being developed, and as well as industries that are developing new spacesuits. If Italy wants to have a place at the table on what the future space systems will be, how we're going to explore new planets, in order to have a place at this table, we have to have this experience. I am speaking as a country, not as an individual. The individual is not of issue here. But now our country has a place at this table.
Ciao Luca, sono Rosa Praticò di
Ciao Luca.
24.
Laura Praticò, Sky TG24. I wanted to ask you what was the most moving moment, and if you were able to look at Earth, and what sensation it gave you.
Sicuramente il momento in cui
surely the moment where Chris opened
la camera stagna e io ho visto
the airlock for the first time, and I saw from inside
ho visto la terra che scorreva sopra,
the Earth running by. That was a very powerful moment. I can't tell you how hard my heart was beating. But even though I had a very strong interior calm, because I knew what I was doing, and I was very sure of my capabilities, the moment that you come out of the station is a very special moment. It's a jump in the unknown. I didn't know how I was going to react. No one will know how they will react when they end up outside the station, when they finally exit and are connected to the structure with just one cable. So that was a very powerful moment. But in general, the entire activity was captivating. There's a moment that I remember very well when I connected with the arm. I was in the dark, and as I was translating, I saw dawn. And seeing dawn from the outside, it's very fast. And seeing it just through the visor separating me from this view, it was beautiful. It was very emotional. It was a vision that's outside the norm. It's something man is not prepared to see. The earth seen from there is a spectacle. It's marvelous. It's truly a jewel.
Ciao Luca, sono Enrica Battifoglia.
Hi Luca, Enrica Battifoglia from ANSA agency. Congratulations, you were great. But even from inside the spacesuit, you were able to transmit enthusiasm as you always do. I was wondering, what did you feel when you first looked outside the space station, even considering that it was dark?
Ciao Enrica.
Hi Enrica.
Grazie, questa è un'ottima domanda.
This is a great question. Actually, when we came out of the airlock, it was light, but we entered darkness shortly thereafter. So when we came out, twilight was about to start. So my first image that I saw coming out of the crew lock,
la dinamica e la coreografia dell'uscita
the choreography of the exit
come farò io la prossima volta
is such that the number one person exits head first, whereas the second person goes out feet first. So I came out feet first with the idea of going through a manhole.
Mi sono sentito un po' capovolto.
But when I came out, I kind of felt upside down because I felt with the head towards the station and the feet towards the earth. And I thought, something's wrong. I'm upside down. It was a sensation that lasted an instant. And then we started working on checking the spacesuit and checking my colleague's spacesuit. So I changed orientation. And from there, after this instant of just marvel and surprise in finding myself to be so comfortable, my focus immediately was towards the work at hand. In particular, in the first E.V.A. for all, when it's your first time as an astronaut, they give you about 15 minutes to get used to it. So I prefer to spend these 15 minutes by translating to the work site, thinking that I would have become accustomed to the space.
Buongiorno Luca, sono Flavia Fratello della televisione.
Hi Luca, Flavia Fratello from La Sette.
La mia domanda è questa.
Here's my question.
Hai praticamente fatto tutto ciò che può aspirare a fare un astronauta.
You practically did everything that an astronaut can aspire to. You did an E.V.A., you're in a long-term mission. What is your next objective? Going to Mars? And if they proposed a one-way mission, would you accept?
Innanzitutto,
First of all,
l'ho detto l'altro giorno a dei
I said this the other day to some students in Italy, and I continue to say,
chi si ferma è perduto, non bisogna mai.
If you stop, you're lost. You should never stop. You should never stop dreaming.
E io continuo ad avere sogni.
And I continue dreaming. I have other dreams, other ambitions.
mi piacerebbe tornare sulla stazione.
Of course, I would like to come back to the station, maybe with a primary role,
per l'Agenzia Spaziale Italiana,
even for Italy and for the Italian and European space agencies. Going to Mars, going to the moon. Why not? I always say,
più in alto si guarda,
the highest you look, the highest the arrow is going to land. So I'm very happy to be dreaming in that direction. As far as a one-way trip, maybe before I answer the question, I should probably talk to my wife and my daughters and see what they think about it.
Ciao Luca, Manuela Maddaloni, Mediaset.
Hi Luca, Maddalena from Mediaset. You have photos of your daughters. I was wondering what words you use to explain your work to them. And what are you going to do when you come back?
Io credo che il modo migliore di parlare,
I think that the best way to talk to my daughters is to explain what I do exactly the way I explain it to you. Maybe a little bit simpler, but explaining that it's an important job because it's a job that looks to the future. So
l'astronauta è soltanto
it is for them too. So the astronaut is only
uno dei punti di quella che è un'esplorazione spaziale.
One of the points of what space exploration is. So I explained
guardare lontano, guardare verso il futuro,
that looking far down the road, looking to the future and exploration is something that is part of us and it's important to do.
Ci sia sempre questa scintilla.
And that it's always important to have this spark of curiosity inside of us. I told that to my daughters, look at the stars. And when you see a brighter star coming, streaking across the sky, that's your dad. And if you think it's something beautiful, then you'll know that I'm doing my job. As far as what I'm going to be doing when I get back to Earth, it's hard to say. I'm trying not to think about my return, because of all times that you pass on station, thinking about coming back is the saddest. So aside from nice shower, I have not thought about what I'm going to be doing when I come back.
Thank you, Luca. That concludes the event.
Copy. Thank you very much thank you everybody for your questions and your time.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the event. Thank you.
Thank you, E.V.A.
And thank you very much for the support.
Stations, we are now resuming operational audio communications.